Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We just talked about a couple of different things, and the biggest thing is this the last shot that Ohio State and Notre Dame will have at a national title for quite some time? Now, both these teams are going to be set up for success in the future. It's not to say that I'm burying those programs, but it is something to watch. It's very, very hard to find your way to a national title, and it could be quite some time until they find their way back. But we'll talk about that obviously in more detail after the national title, but it is officially time. We got to pick this national title. We got to get into what exactly I think, where I'm going in. I've gone back and forth just a little bit. The 12-team playoff is officially coming to an end, and it's had some twists and turns. You know, people were very mad after that first round. People were very mad after the second round. People are going to be very mad. Let's just be totally honest with each other. And people are going to be mad regardless of what the result is here, regardless of how it unfolds. But at the end of the day, we've done the storylines, we've done the matchups, we've done unsung heroes, we've done the stakes. Now we just got to get into the game. We got to get into what is going to happen on that gridiron. And one of the things that is kind of getting made this hard to get a beat on. You know, I feel relatively confident in the pick that I've made, but there was a thing that kept getting in my way, that kept making me question all the things that I was thinking going into this one, and it was the Notre Dame Penn State game. You look at Notre Dame throughout this entire season, the big time question was that with them was a team that could not play from behind, a team that had no ability to get big time passing plays, and a team that always wins the turnover battle, and that's a huge part of why they win. None of those things happened against Penn State. They found a big-time pass play to Jaden Greathouse that was the difference maker in that game. You had a team that was playing from behind, was down 10-0 early in that one, and then they lost the turnover battle 2-1. They did make the huge pick, no doubt about it, but they did lose that turnover battle in that game. So you look around, and you're wondering what this team is. You know, are they totally different than what we thought they were? Are they going to be able to find some openings against this back end of this defense and maybe make some of the big time plays they made against Penn State? But this is a team that just wins games without looking great and now times being outplayed in different respects. You know, I can make a pretty good argument that Penn State outplayed them for a large part of that game. Notre Dame made the winning plays, and there's really no other way to put it. So really remarkable stuff, and it puts you in a weird spot going forward. But the question that I have is, how many chances will they really get? How many chances will they get to take a lead in this game, to take over this game, and how many turnovers will they get from this guy right here? Will Howard's been really good about keeping the ball in his hands, about making sure you don't put it into weird spots, and about making sure that you keep the ball as safe as you possibly can. That being said, this is going to be a unique challenge. The man coverage thing is a thing that a lot of people think Ohio State's going to absolutely eat up, and I fully agree that there are certain times that it will look like they are just dominating that man coverage. I feel fairly confident about that, but that being said, they are very, very good in man coverage as Notre Dame, and that means that Will Howard at some point is going to have to push the ball into tight windows. He's going to have to make throws that maybe he's not all that comfortable making. Now, he's made a couple of them. The Emeka Egbuka throws in the Tennessee and Oregon game were downright incredible, and he's been a guy that has the ability to make those throws. How consistently can he make them? And Notre Dame is fifth in the country in takeaways, so he's going to have to throw in the teeth of a defense that has some of the best ball hawks in the country. They are going to come after you. They are going to make some big-time plays, and the question is, how safe can you keep that ball while still wanting to push it down the field into that man coverage and possibly into some combo coverages with man underneath and zone over top? Very, very tough thing to do, but he's got to take care of it. There's no doubt about that. But the glaring matchup that I think everyone is watching going into this one with some of the injuries coming in for Notre Dame is that defensive line for Ohio State against Notre Dame's offensive line and how they can get to Riley Leonard and what's the counterpunch for that. Because the reality is, he's going to get pressure. It's a thing that happens no matter who you're playing, no matter who is next to, or who is in front of, who's in front of Ohio State. You are going to be able, you are going to get pressure, or you're going to get pressured. Kind of lost my train of thought there. But at the end of the day, they are going to get to you. A couple of times, Jack Sawyer, JTT, all of these guys are going to make plays. You have to find a way out. So Riley Leonard's legs are a huge counterpunch to that. Definitely something that you're going to need in this game. His ability to get the ball out of his hands very quickly. His ability to avoid guys like Cody Simon and Caleb Downs once he does get out of the pocket are going to be absolutely massive. But when you look at this, one thing that is working in Notre Dame's favor, and it's something that I wish wasn't working in their favor just by virtue of it's the wrong way for this to go about business, but Ohio State is 134th in the country when it comes to opponents' penalties. There's 134 teams in the country. They get held a lot. And if you're watching that Texas game, they got held plenty in that game as well. Now, Texas did as well, so I'm not necessarily saying it was aggressively in one direction, but it's been shown. It's been shown that Charles Jagusa, Tosh Baker, Emil Wagner, these tackles might be able to get away with some stuff. So I'm not saying you should, just totally grab onto them and hold for dear life, but I am saying be a little bit more handsy in this one. I definitely do think you have a little bit more ability to be a little bit more handsy, give Riley Leonard a little bit more time in that pocket, and then if it does break down, Riley Leonard's got to be the counter with his legs. He's got to be huge in that respect, and if he can't, it's going to be really, really hard for that to unfold. But a lot of different things going into this game. The quarterbacks are obviously a huge talking point, as is the battle in the trenches. But the big-time thing you're going to want to watch is just how many times can Jeremiah Smith get the ball? He is going to get man coverage a couple of times in this game. Now, he will be a little bit different. Texas dealt him a little bit different. I have to assume that Notre Dame will deal with him a little bit differently. But whatever it is, man, zone, combo, whatever, they got to find matchups that they like. They got to find a way to get number 4 the football, because in that Texas game, they won the game by 14 points. It's not to take anything away from what Ohio State did or what that offense did throughout that game. But he had 1 catch and 3 yards. They had 21 points offensively, and they got 7 of those points on a play that I just don't think is going to happen in this game. So he is a guy you have to get the ball. He is a guy that Notre Dame is going to know that you have to get the ball. So you got to find matchups, whether it's with motion or with a couple of different switch releases, whatever that looks like. You got to find a way to get a couple of openings, and if Notre Dame can cover them really closely, maybe you throw it up anyway and see if number 4 can make a big-time play. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit of a contentious battle, but you got to get number 4 the football. You can win this game without him technically, but it's going to be a whole lot easier to win it with him. So I think that's going to be a huge matchup, those DBs against that guy in particular, but all of the Ohio State wide receivers, obviously, just trying to find matchups they like and see if they can take advantage of them. But overall, this is going to be a fun one, guys. This is about as good as it gets, because you look at these two teams, 2 of the best defenses in the country. I think you could say 1-3, 1-2. Any way you want to cut it. These are 2 of the best defenses in the country. Both these teams might not necessarily have the quarterback that's going to wow you off the page with the athletic ability, but they are the mental they are the mental leader of this team. They are the emotional leader of this team, and they have done an incredible job throughout this season. But one of the things that we have to know going into this one is someone's going to become the 3rd coach in the country to have a national title to their name. They'll join Kirby Smart and Dabo Swinney. Whether it's Ryan Day or Marcus Freeman, one of these programs that's been the history of college football in a lot of different ways will sit back on top of the sport, and Ryan Day will have a chance to clear his name. Freeman has a chance to take over the sport, 2 battle-tested, mentally tough teams in attack mode. It's going to be awesome. Cannot wait for this game. But let's get into some players to watch, and then we'll get into some keys to the game. But players to watch, Jaden Greathouse is huge in this game and really going forward in the next couple of years for Notre Dame. But we'll focus on Monday for the time being. He's got to make a play. Notre Dame is not going to be able to just pound the rock 40 times in this game and come away with a win. They have to find a way to get that one explosive play. You see that he had Jalen Reed on the ground right there. He's going to have to find a way to get some of these other guys on the ground. It's very, very hard to beat Caleb Downs. It's very, very hard to beat Lathan Ransom, but he's got to make plays. And he is the most physically imposing guy on this offense when you talk about wide receivers. He's going to be a guy that has to make a couple of big-time plays, and Riley Leonard does have to get him the ball in the right moments. But he's the most physically gifted wide receiver they have, in my opinion, and he's absolutely a guy that needs to make plays in this game. Leonard Moore is the other guy, because you are going to get number 4 in this game. You are going to get Jeremiah Smith a whole darn lot, and when you're not getting him, you're getting Emeka Egbuka. So you got to be ready. He's got to play the best football of his entire life. He's got to play pretty much far and away the best football of his entire life. Very talented player. I expect him to be an All-American in a couple of years. But at the end of the day, this is a challenge unlike anything that he has ever faced, and he's got to be up to the challenge in this one. Emeka Egbuka. This is the last time he's going to be putting on a Ohio State uniform, and this is a guy. This is a guy that Ohio State fans will remember for a very, very long time. He is the leading receiving yards leader in Ohio State history for a career. He is a guy that has made play after play throughout this tournament, but even in the past has made a number of big-time plays in Ohio State history, and he has a chance to be on the top of the mountaintop. Very talented player, and if they're going to give man coverage and then maybe a safety over top to Jeremiah Smith, that means you're getting outright man coverage. So take advantage of it. One of the best man beaters in the entire country, and I expect him to be very, very happy with the matchups that he gets on Monday. Sonny Styles, I highlighted them going into the Texas game, and I got to highlight him again because the reality is Jaden Blue beat him on a touchdown, and that is a huge, huge part of this game. Ainias Williams is a very underrated part of this offense for Notre Dame because the ability for him to get out of the backfield, make a couple of big-time plays on third down in the pass game is massive. And Sonny Styles is going to be the guy that is going to have to chase him around in a lot of different respects. So you can't get beat like you did against Texas. You can't get beat on a wheel route because that is a route that Riley Leonard can very well throw, and Ainias Williams, Jeremiah Love, whoever is going to be able to make that play. So Sonny Styles is going to have to be huge in coverage in this game because Notre Dame's going to throw everything at you. Those interior linebackers are going to be massive and kind of handling all of the different things they're going to throw. But let's get into some keys to the game. We'll start with Notre Dame, and Riley Leonard has to extend plays in this one. They are going to get pressure. I can almost promise you that. The Ohio State front has 16 sacks in the first 3 games of the CFP. Notre Dame's injured O-line does not necessarily help that a little bit. So Notre Dame is going to be in a spot where Riley Leonard just has to escape for positive yards. It doesn't have to be every single play. Hopefully it won't be every single play, but at the end of the day, he is going to have to make those 1 or 2 plays on a 3rd and 10 where he scoots out of big-time pressure, he makes a run for first down, and keeps a drive alive. Those are huge, huge plays. He made them against Georgia, he made them against Penn State, and he's got to make them in this game. And then elite wide receiver blocking, I think, is a huge part of this game because you talk about how good Jack Sawyer, how good JTT are. You want to get away from those guys. And now you're going to have to deal with Caleb Downs. So it's not like you're getting the great end of the deal, but at the end of the day, at the very least, you have more time to operate. You have more space to operate in those respects. So you're going to have the wide receivers on the outside really stick these guys. They are so good at getting off block. Davison Igbinosun, Denzel Burke, Jordan Hancock, all of these guys on the outside are so good at getting off blocks. You got to make sure that you stick them. You got to make sure that they can turn the corner, and then maybe you can get some of those explosive plays against this ridiculous back end because you saw against Texas, there were plays in that screen game where it looked like Ryan Wingo was taking it to the house because of that wide receiver blocking, and then there were others on that pitch play. It wasn't going to the house because wide receiver and outside blocking. So it's going to be a huge, huge thing for this game. If you can keep Caleb Downs at bay with that blocking ability, you're going to be in a really good shape. And then bend, don't break. This Ohio State team is going to make plays. They are too talented. They have too many guys. They're operating at too high of a level for them not to make big-time plays. But keeping it in the 20s is a winning formula. So threes, that's all you have to do. Force threes instead of sevens. Make sure that when they get in that 20-yard line, they have to deal with a lot of tight windows. You come after Will Howard, you make him a little bit flustered, and you make sure that they're kicking field goals at the end of drives. If you can do that, then you might just get a miss here and there from Jaden Fielding, but also you'll very much keep in this game for a little bit longer than maybe you would if Ohio State was able to finish off a couple of those drives. So bend, don't break defense is going to be huge for Notre Dame. It's been great all year. It's got to be absolutely incredible in this game. And then moving forward to Ohio State, tight window throws is going to be the name of the game for Will Howard in this one. Now, there will be open receivers. There will be times where he's throwing to a guy that is pretty wide open because these are very good man beaters on Ohio State, no doubt about that. But there will be tighter windows. Xavier Watts is so good as a center fielder, just kind of closing up different spaces, making it really hard for quarterbacks to throw into really open windows. Also, Jordan Clark and Leonard Moore and Christian Gray have done such a good job in man coverage that it's hard for me to believe that Ohio State's going to be able to get separation every single play. So there will be tight window throws that just have to be made in this game. Will Howard's just going to have to make them. He's made a number of them in the first 3 games, but at the end of the day, he's going to have to make a lot of them in this game, and if he doesn't, then you could see a couple of picks going the other direction. Then you got to win the first quarter. While Notre Dame did come back by 10 against Penn State after going down in the first quarter, I think Ohio State just has too much firepower for Penn State or for Notre Dame to be able to pull that off. If Ohio State has first quarter success like they've been having in the CFP, it's going to be really hard for Notre Dame to find a way to come back in this one, especially if they're up 14-0 at the end of the first. It's going to be a nightmare for Notre Dame to find their way back in this. And then eliminate the big play is huge. Notre Dame is going to have a big one in this game. They're going to have a 98-yard Jeremiah Love run. They're going to have a 53-yard Jaden Greathouse catch. They're going to have a play that totally changes the complexion and the momentum of this game. If they can't get that, then it's going to be really hard for this offense to operate. If you can pin your ears back and have tons of guys in the box, make sure that you don't have to worry about those big pass plays, you're going to be in really good shape. So that back end, Caleb Downs, Latham Ransom, all of those guys have to make some game-saving tackles. Caleb Downs made about 3 of them when he played Texas last week. He's going to have to make a couple in this game, no doubt about it. And if they avoid that big play, I just don't see Notre Dame having the firepower to keep up in this one. So going to be an awesome game. 2 teams that are as battle-tested as you could possibly imagine, have dealt with all of the talk around the Michigan game, around the NIU game for Notre Dame. It was insanity around these teams, but they've hit their stride. They found their way to Atlanta, and I think Ohio State finishes the job. I think they officially accomplished the job. I think this title or bust season does not go bust. I do think they win this thing, and I think they win it 30-17. Now, I do think it will be a little bit closer than the score might indicate. I think Ohio State will score a touchdown late in this one. Notre Dame will start to have to force on offense, and Ohio State will be able to get a pick to kind of end this one out. So I don't want to say, Ohio State's going to roll them and totally control this game, but I do think Ohio State just has that little bit. I think Jeremiah Smith will get that separation on those man coverage routes, just that little bit that he needs, and I do think Ohio State wins this one. It's going to be an awesome game, and that'll do it for the college football season. So a little bit of a bittersweet moment. We love to see the national championship. We love to see the team celebrated on that level, but at the same time, you obviously hate to see that clock hit 0 and realize we got to wait till August 24th. So it's going to take a while, definitely going to be an upsetting time, but we will talk about that in time. Still plenty of time to get excited for this game, still plenty of time in the college football season, at least as far as I'm concerned. So let's go in and take our third break here, and when we come back, let's just get into talking points for each of these teams if they win the national title. What would the fallout be for both these teams? Obviously, Ohio State might be a pretty explosive fallout one way or the other, but for Notre Dame, it would be all optimism. It would be very, very interesting to watch that unfold, but we'll get into that right after this, so stick with us.